All right, good afternoon and welcome to Free Together, Free Apart, the Vermont Center for Family Studies program here on family success, hacking family success. What a year 2020 was. Epic year here in America and in the world. Challenging year. I'll tell you, it's really striking to me just this last week. I'm talking to a lot of people every day. I coach every day, and I'm very, very struck by the strain that people are under, and particularly the estrangement risk that is higher right now in families. It's been a little heavy for me the last few days, just the awareness of that. So I'm very happy today to be gathering to talk about a very positive topic. Differentiation of self is such a beautiful concept. I know many of you on this call have spent years and years exploring this amazing, fascinating vision of what family leadership could be and trying to live up to it. And about a week ago, we had a really great meeting here on this in this forum with a family business leader and Ernie Pomerleau. If you didn't catch that one, I think it was a very special conversation with a family leader, somebody who's done a lot of thinking about succession, and just a very articulate, heartfelt man about the journey of a really challenging relationship that could have gone in the direction of estrangement, and it didn't. Somebody asked a question on the call. Somebody said, I've been working with bond theory for so long and working on this journey of my own maturity and my own reactivity. And they're saying, gosh, I wish I'd made more progress. And I just have heard that so many times. And along with the inspiring stories of amazing results, I'm hungry to find new pathways to get even more results on this vision of differentiation of self and family leadership and non-reactivity. And that's why we're doing this course, Moonlight Swim, and why we're doing this meeting today, to just further the conversation, keep the conversation going about the possibility that meditation or ancient practices could really have a very powerful impact on people's efforts to be family leaders and to advance differentiation of self, non-reactivity, skill in triangles. And I'm really happy to have my good friend and colleague, Leslie Fox, here with me today. Hi, Leslie. I think many of you know Leslie.
I was just saying hi.
Hi. Looks like you're in Florida or something there. I'm glad to see you.
Don't I wish?
I think Leslie's in Chicago right now.
Yeah, I am, and it's cold.
And as many of you know, Leslie is a faculty member of the Center for Family Consultation in Chicago, and also author of the book, Leading in Anxious Times, wonderful book for business leaders. Leslie started a business, ran a business called Care Connections. I think they had a very, very special culture. And she's a wonderful person to talk to about business leadership. But she's on the meeting today for a different reason, which is that she's one of the people who's on this journey with me to explore the connection between family leadership and meditation. And the other person is Mark Roberts, who will be teaching this Moonlight Swim course with me. Hey, Mark, good to see you. Some of you have been in discussions already here with me and Mark, and you may have heard my recent description of Mark as a guy. He's got an MBA, but if they gave PhDs out for a person to explore the actual practice of inner silence, Mark would have a couple of PhDs, maybe 3, I think. I just added another one, Mark. The last
Nice
time.
to be.
Go ahead.
No, it's nice to be here. PhDs are official titles that recognize, in this case, something that would be abstract and difficult to measure and prove. But I appreciate your nice compliments. And it's great to be here.
I just tell you, I have a practice of going on a meditation retreat once a year, and I was going on these retreats in Iowa, and I just kind of ran into Mark, and we just started talking. I've told you this story, Leslie. We had a lot of long lunches on this retreat, and during many of those conversations, I thought, boy, I wish other people were sitting here listening to what we're talking about right now. I think it'd be interesting to other people. So, and the same thing happens when I talk to Leslie Fox. So I'm glad to have some minutes here with you guys to just converse about this topic today.
Thank you. It's nice to be with
I
you.
teed it up. I asked each, Leslie and Mark, and I've done it to ask each to think of one question to ask the other one. So Leslie, one question for me, one for Mark. Mark, one question for me, one for Leslie. So we have a little bit of a framework here. And those of you who've been on this program know that the typical way we do this, we'll do it this way again. We'll talk for a little while and then give you a chance to discuss and integrate some of what you've been thinking about, and then we'll have some question and answer between us. So maybe I'll start. So I just was curious, Leslie, if you could bring us up to date on your findings, your research findings, your inner journey research findings is the way I'd call it. I know you've been practicing inner silence, practicing transcendence, transcendental meditation now for a while. You've got many, many years in differentiation of self. And do you want to would you say a little about that? What are you finding? What are you discovering lately?
Well, it's, I don't know if I'd call it actual research, because I sort of think about research as really much more structured. So as I thought about that question, I sort of took it up to a different level, which was, maybe the metaphor is, I received a gift at Christmas of a 1,000 piece jigsaw puzzle. And I don't do puzzles. I don't do jigsaw puzzles. So it's like, it seems very overwhelming to even begin it. And I realized what I've actually been trying to do for many years now is put together a gigantic puzzle. And there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of different pieces. And I have focused generally on trying to kind of reconcile, if you will, science, Bowen theory, and now meditation. I started out as a biology, in the healthcare fields. I was in the biological sciences, bachelor's in BS in science. And then about halfway through my career, I encountered Bowen theory, and I was attracted to it again because it was grounded in science and it was kind of grounded in the biological sciences. And then in 2014, just about 6-7 years ago, I was introduced to meditation. And the thing that was sort of astounding to me, because, I know I've had almost my entire career, 7 years ago, I would have been in my mid 60s. It was like getting this puzzle the other day. I hadn't encountered it before, anything like it before. I had not been particularly involved in a religion my entire life. I had no religious training. I was what I would call cultural Jewish. I'm really into the Jewish foods and the major holidays, and that was about it. I had no sense of that part of the life. And it's just been an amazing journey, just to be exposed to all the knowledge in the world that I was not aware of. And I am seeing how it all kind of comes together in a sense that for me on the Bowen theory side of things, I saw that even 5,000 years ago, people were observing the same things that Bowen was observing, maybe not with the same degree of scientific rigor, but I mean, certainly he documented many things that were documented in the many different wisdom traditions that I've now exposed myself to a little bit. And then more recently, in my quest to expand my view on science, I dipped into artificial intelligence, which is based on the physical sciences, which I'd had very little exposure to, and physics and mathematics and a whole area of science that Bowen didn't dwell on very much. And so it's like I have all these pieces together, and what keeps happening is whatever I do in life now, I encounter one of these pieces. So I think I've got the whole set. I just don't know how to put it all together yet. And that's where I think the meditation has become very useful in terms of taking the time to really think about these things in a way that I could not have done earlier. I don't think I could have done it earlier in my life. I don't think I was emotionally mature enough. And I think the busyness of our lives don't really encourage you to take even 20 minutes twice a day to just think and let the thoughts come together. It's always sort of, you're forcing yourself to do things. And I mean, the best I can say is the greatest lesson I think I've really come to at this point is that the less hard I try, the better it turns out. So that's kind of where I'm at, Eric. I don't know if that really answers your question, but that's it. It's a snapshot.
Certainly the beginning of a conversation. You touched on this doing. And one of the assertions in the Transcendental Meditation literature and the ancient path it comes out of is that rest is undervalued in our culture today.
Yeah.
And that there's actually, it's beyond just getting a good night's sleep, that in non-doing, in silence, in inactivity, in effortlessness, there's actually a tremendous power. And that there's actually a whole path of going deeper and deeper into inner silence. It's like there's like my father's house has many mansions is a piece of scripture. In silence there are many, or my father's mansion has many rooms. In silence there are many rooms, many rooms there. And if you have to sort of slow down to start to open the doors and see the rooms. Maybe that pivots over. Let's get Mark into this. So Mark, my question, my start off question for you, very simple. I was just going to ask you if you could say simply, what is inner silence? It's in the title of this meeting.
Probably everyone's had at least moments of inner silence where they got out in the country or they were reading a book that they really liked, just cuddled up on a chair, some instance where they found inner silence. Transcendental meditation gives us silence that's even deeper than what we typically experience in a walk in the park or in the woods, by the ocean, or cuddled up with a book. It allows the mind to completely settle down. I sometimes refer to it as the simplest form of awareness, where it's so relaxed and so easy within itself that all the chatter, all the noise disappears. It's like tuning a radio when you're out driving in the country and you're getting static on the reception because you're in between cities. And all of a sudden you get close enough to the station where it all comes in nice and clear. Meditation is like zeroing in on the silence like that. So it's just crystal clear silence that you can deeply enjoy very innocently. It's a completely innocent, effortless technique that we do in Transcendental Meditation. There's no trying required, no particular level of intelligence. It doesn't matter your occupation, your age, anything like that. It's just an effortless, simple, natural procedure that anyone can do sitting on a park bench, sitting at home, on an airplane, traveling on a car, in a train. And it's the simplicity of it that is the beauty of it. We shouldn't mistake simplicity for a simpleton thing. That is the pure elegance, because the simplicity comes because it uses the natural tendency of the mind to go to a field of greater happiness. If suddenly your favorite music came on, music that you absolutely adore and love, I would find you tuning me out and you'd be drifting off to hear that music which you love. This inner silence, this inner peace and calm of the transcendent, that's deeper than just a quiet state of mind. It's the transcendent. Transcendent means going beyond thought, beyond feelings, beyond emotions, is the most charming experience I've certainly ever experienced in my life. And that's a typical comment from most meditators. So inner silence has degrees. Just having the chatter of the mind slow down a little bit is some degree of silence. Being at the beach, on a mountaintop, wherever, hiking can be a deeper degree of silence. But with this simple technique, we can experience an even deeper level of silence, a level of transcendental value, which is our true self. So I can expand on inner silence to include it being ourself, an aspect of ourself, as well as a state of relaxation, because it has all those different qualities. So inner silence, it's a way to get away from it all. It's like 20-minute vacation twice a day, stepping back from all the activity, 20-minute holiday twice a day. And you feel rejuvenated after a holiday. You come back feeling better, more focused. I have a common experience that I'm trying to solve a problem and requires some creativity or just some common sense, and the answers are not coming. Then I'll sit to meditate, and after the 20 minutes of meditation, the answer just comes. Part of the creative process that is taught to people often is, okay, you've been really focused on it, brainstorming on it, now just leave it, drop it, and see if an answer comes when you've dropped it. TM is a simple technique to help enhance that factor of just dropping everything so that you collect yourself and can focus and find solutions to problems that have been there. And suddenly they're no longer a problem. So that's the inner silence. That's the value of inner silence. Do less and accomplish more. Instead of spending all the time just chattering and wondering.
Did you have that all written out in a script, Robert? So how'd you just pull that right out of your pocket, didn't you?
I knew you were going to ask me that question. I'm very intuitive.
Ernie Parmelo said last week it's the state of complete non-reactivity. So reactivity is a word that's precious to us in Bowen theory, recognizing that the central issue that we might have with another person has to do with our reactivity to that person. And that the problem in the family is built of many people reacting to each other. Not really the people themselves or the positions they're taking, but the reactivity between them. And I thought Ernie said that well, that this inner silence that you just described so beautifully, it's like you can look at reactivity, non-reactivity, one level. At one level, it's okay, the person said that stimulating thing to me, but I just looked at them with calm on my face, and I didn't feel I needed to correct them. But at a deeper level, deep within the mind in this meditation practice, it's like there's like a almost concentrated non-reactivity in that silence you were describing, where like even within the mind, there's no sense of that chattering reactivity towards existing. Does that make sense?
I can add one thing related to that. I'm, for the last 2 months, been giving healthcare to a longtime friend of mine who's now having health issues and is somewhat incapacitated, barely getting around with a walker, barely able to walk and things of that sort. So I have to do almost everything for her. And when you're in the middle of doing a job and business and doing a lot of other things at the same time, that can be kind of demanding. And yet I find, because of the meditation and the effects of having done it for 50 years now, meditating, everything just glides and slides along. I just go with the flow. Whatever she wants, I just drop everything, and everything gets done. And it's been a beautiful experience. I have to admit, it's the last 2 months of it's really opened my heart. And I used to date this lady, and we're closer than ever. It's been very, very special time. And without meditation, it would not have been like that. I am 100% sure.
So, Leslie, I would love to hear your comments on this, but I just want to just to tee this up for anyone on the call who's thinking about maybe doing this course. Is kind of last chance now, because it's going to start on February 1st. We've got our cohort built, and we've got the schedule laid out. But the idea of the course, which I'm happy to talk to anybody about, is just it's going to structure a process by which the participants, who will have all learned Transcendental Meditation, it doesn't take that long to learn. So if somebody hadn't learned, they could learn before the course on February 1st. But the purpose of the course will be to structure the experience that Mark was describing, and to support it, to meet together and do certain things and talk about certain things that enhance one's capacity to explore the many rooms in the Father's mansion of inner silence. Leslie, any thoughts about what you've been hearing?
Oh, yes. Always. I was thinking a couple of things. One was that Mark's been doing this for 50 years, and I don't think I really have 50 years to, I've only been doing it a year. So I think I have a ways. I'm not going to get all the way there. So so that's just one thought that went through my mind as I thought about how sad I am, in a sense, that I really didn't discover this sooner, because it's had a pretty profound impact even in just a year for me. The other thing I was actually kind of wondering, and you can answer it, or Mark can answer it, is that when I'm doing the meditation, I'm doing a group meditation with Bob Roth twice a day, and which is kind of nice because it's for 20 minutes and then he brings you out. I don't have to find a way to keep track of the time. And when he starts to make a little noise and sort of very quietly and gently bring us out, my first reaction is, oh no, that's over already. Why can I just stay here for a while? And I was thinking, if I meditate on my own, am I going to wind up meditating for hours on end? Because you do wind up in a very lovely place. And I mean, I don't think I would actually do that, but it is an interesting reaction. The difference between that, I did some mindfulness meditations for about 5 years from different classes, and I know that the science says that a lot of the benefits of TM can also be realized through that, but I didn't, and I think it's because putting one more thing into my life that I had to make an effort to do was just one thing too many. And So I think just the very fact that you can get to the same place, perhaps, I don't know if it's exactly the same place, but you can get somewhere better by just sitting down and allowing yourself to be. I mean, when in our lives has anybody ever said, just sit there, you can think or not think, you can just be, just be. I didn't even get what that meant for quite a while um, uh, in terms of practicing. But
Yeah.
it's such a, it's such a comfortable place to be. And then just in response to Mark's, that when you come out of it, or when you decide, all right, then all of a sudden, like within about 5 or 10 minutes, I have all this energy, and and it's changing the way I live my life, and it's just really really special. I'm intrigued to learn more.
I want to let Mark address this question of the 1 year, and I don't have 50 years, but I'll just say a few things. One, that inner silence is an art, so there's a way to learn inner silence, and this is a sophisticated non-doing that transcendental meditation is. And you mentioned mindfulness, which I think is good. I have so much respect for mindfulness. John Kabat-Zinn, I spent a lot of years reading his books. I taught some of our clients in my community mental health center mindfulness for years. And I think I'm just learning, this is 4 or 5 years thinking a lot about this together, including in our Bowen Theory and Meditation study group that the Chicago Center sponsors and that anyone on this call could pursue, is just how different they are. Mindfulness and TM are very different. They're so different. It almost is a shame they both use the word meditation. I mean, there's 1,000 different things people call meditation, but mindfulness and TM are just so different. Many people have said to me, oh, I tried that, I tried that where I tried to follow my breath or tried to watch my thoughts. I'm not good at that. I can't do it. And I often say to those people, well, you might want to try TM because it's so different. Mark, what about this thing, Leslie? What do you think about what Leslie said about, regretting that she didn't start it earlier and that she wishes she had more years?
Well, I think everyone starts uh, from a different point on the path, so to speak. Everyone has a different nervous system. Some people already have a lot of silence. Some people are already quite calm. I know when I first met you, Leslie, I was struck by how I'm going to use the word together. It's a very general word, but I felt you had a presence and a togetherness that stood out. You had maybe it's the differentiation of self from Bowen theory that I felt was very noticeable. And I think just from doing Bowen and being conscious of who you are, why do we really want to know who are we? I've always been asking these questions. What's the purpose of life and who am I really? Am I just all of this chatter that's going on in my head, or is there something deeper, something more? So we all start out from a different point in a journey, on a journey. And some people get there a lot faster than others, even if they start from the same point. So there's no fixed timetable to start to appreciate this, carrying this full value of fullness and quiet, calm into activity 24 hours a day. Because we don't just want to have it in meditation. We want to have that inner coherence and being in the zone all the time. And that is what develops over time with the practice of transcendental meditation. So everyone is different. Everyone goes at a different speed. There's no fixed pace for gaining enlightenment. So
I know when I first learned TM, when I was at first year in college, and just the learning of it was it was a unique experience for me. I'd never had an experience of inner silence like that right off the bat. I remember walking down the street afterwards saying, wow, my life is different right now. And but then, I've been doing it for 40 years, and it has, in some way, it was all there in that first month. But in another way, it has gotten richer, and there've been, you know, more unfolding of it. So I'm thinking of just looking at the time, it's about halfway point. Maybe this would be a good moment to allow a few people to get in on the conversation and maybe ask a question or two about what you've heard before we do the breakouts. I just want to invite that. We don't need to have someone do that, but these are the questions, prompts I've been using for the breakout rooms. Very simple questions. But I wonder, would anybody like to make a comment or ask a question of Leslie or Mark or I? You can just unmute and go ahead if you want to.
Hi, my name is Zane. I have a question. You started to talk a little bit about the difference between mindfulness meditation
Yeah,
and transcendental meditation.
yeah.
And I just wondered if you could say a bit more about that. I'm pretty familiar with John Kabat-Zinn,
Mhm.
and I vaguely know about transcendental meditation, but I would love to learn a little more about the difference.
Mhm. I would say, here's how I would try it, Zane, that so with mindfulness meditation, you're using the thinking mind in a very specific, precise way. You're training the thinking mind to attend to something. And usually it's something beautiful, like just simply the breath in the present moment. And you use the thinking mind to watch your mind and developing an observing presence, and to notice when you've left the moment behind. With TM, you're actually not using the thinking mind. The technique is designed to transcend the thinking mind. So in that sense, it's effortless. You're not using mental effort. If you were using mental effort, you wouldn't be transcending mental effort. So I can't, you have to experience it in the training, the simple training process, the standardized training process. It's very well structured in a way that I kind of can't describe, to help you catch this effortless transcendence of the thinking mind. So with transcendence, the experience of transcendence, it's awake. It's not an out of body experience. I'm present, I'm conscious, but it's an experience of no thoughts. And it's you can use words to describe it, but the actual experience of it is different than the words, obviously, because we're using our thinking mind to process the words. Mark, can you add anything?
Well, there's two things we learn when we learn transcendental meditation. One is we learn a mantra, which is a meaningless sound. There's no meaning involved. Why is there no meaning? Because meaning keeps the mind on the surface activity. And I'll make a quick analogy comparing the mind to an ocean. An ocean has the active surface activity of waves. That's like the thinking mind on the surface. But the ocean also has a depth of silence to it, deep within. So we don't use meaning in transcendental meditation with our thought. We just have a meaningless mantra whose effects are known. This is an ancient technique. It's time tested. And this sound, this vibratory quality of the sound, allows the mind to very quietly, very naturally settle down, settle down, settle down, settle down. And we do it sitting comfortably. We're not in activity when we do transcendental meditation. I'm sitting on a nice sofa couch right now. I could do it here. You could do it in whatever chair you're sitting in now. We just sit comfortably. Or if you like to sit in full lotus on the floor, that's fine also, whatever. Doesn't matter how we sit. And we just take those 20 minutes to sit comfortably, not being active with the eyes closed. Because when the eyes closed, it allows the attention to go more inward rather than when they're open. So it's just a simple procedure done 20 minutes twice a day with the eyes closed. And it allows both mind and body to settle down. People notice the breathing becomes very shallow, virtually stops at some point. Sometimes people may notice a sudden deep breath as the body normalizes and gains equilibrium. So this process is one of deep, deep rest. It's found to be twice as deep as the deepest point of a night's sleep. It allows for very deep rejuvenation. And then we bring that freshness into activity. And then meditation is over. We don't do TM in activity like mindfulness is done in activity. That's a very major difference right there. This deep rest continues for quite some time. And then in the late afternoon, 5 o'clock after work, we meditate again. And we gain that deep restfulness. So we may have had a stressful day, and yet we meditate again at 5 o'clock, 20 minutes, and then we're fresh to enjoy our evening, our family, our kids, whatever. And be clear-minded and not have the fatigue of the day with us again. It's the freshness, it's the silence that allows for the coherence rather than trying to, in the middle of activity, control the mind some way, as mindfulness does. I hope that helps clarify TM more.
Thank you for the question. It's a great question. Anybody else want to ask something about it?
I have a question. Hi, this is Jim Rudis.
Hi, Jim.
I'm in Florida. And I don't know about TM at all. It sounds delicious. I think I may explore that, but I'm trying to understand the connection between TM and differentiation of self.
Mm-hmm.
For me, my own differentiation of self has been a very kind of a tolerating discomfort more, a more thoughtful process, engagement. And I loved, I don't know who said it, but the less hard I try, the better it turns out. If that could only be my life. But differentiation is a kind of, I think, a very purposeful process. So I'm trying to understand the connection to, I think they both, if I understand, TM provides a place of less reactivity or non-reactivity. And that's in some ways, the more differentiated oneself is, the more they can control their reactivity or manage it. So could you, I'm kind of trying to swim
Sure.
between the two.
It's a great question, Jim. I don't know, Leslie, would you like to take a crack at it? I could.
I can take a little crack at it, and then you could elaborate on it. How would that be?
Sure.
I guess the way, I'd worked on differentiation for 30 years, and it made a huge difference in my life. I mean, I would never be able to articulate how much Bowen theory has helped my life. And yet there were aspects of differentiation I just couldn't get through. I was blocking some things related to important relationships in my family of origin. And I found that through this meditation process this year, and my relaxing, and it's almost, as I said, it's like not trying so hard. What I found was that after meditation, it doesn't usually happen during, but I started to really see the individual I was trying to improve my relationship with. I began to see that person very differently. I could think much more broadly, not only about my own life experience, but his life experience, and how different it was. And I just started responding differently And I started changing, and I stopped really, even in a subtle way, trying to change the other person. And I've gotten back more than I could have ever even set out as a goal. So I do think it's related to differentiation, in that when we teach differentiation, we talk about, being clear about your own position. I guess what always tripped me up was I was never sure exactly what my position was, or maybe I hadn't really thought through those positions very well. And my continuing to try to hold a position that was not well thought through and was not thought through with the real understanding of a bigger picture was maybe not worth that effort. So it really, in a sense, has changed the way I'm practicing differentiation, which is to really just try to observe much more than I was ever able to before. And it's like levels. As Mark was saying, you're at the top of the ocean, and you meditate for a while, and you get down a little bit, and it's a little quieter. And then over time, the more times you do it, you get deeper and deeper. And as it gets quieter and quieter, somehow or another, when you come out of it, you're just aware of more. I can't say I understand scientifically how it works, but I know with the EEG studies, they see that when you are transcending, that you're in the alpha waves, which is very different than our usual, I guess, beta waves or something. But we're in a different part of our brain. So we're, in a sense, maybe we're just using our whole brain more than we have in the past. I mean, that's kind of the way I'm thinking about it right now. Erik?
I'll just add that, so Jim, I think your question is the same one I have. It's kind of a research question. Like Leslie, I have 30 years very engaged in all the disciplined practices of Bowen theory, detriangling, differentiation of self, taking I positions, the hard side of it where you take stands and get reactivity back and you don't react to the reactivity. And I think those things are all precious. I'm not trying to throw them out in any way. I believe that transcendence could be added to that pantheon of techniques. And I think Leslie just put it very well, that if you have a way to access a very profound level of non-reactivity directly, you have a new perception of that other person. It almost, this is the research question. Does it spontaneously stimulate a differentiated state of mind with important relationships like the one Leslie was just describing? And I've got a kind of a pile of evidence for my own experience now, Jim, that I think it does. And what's kind of interesting is, you can analyze and think about, okay, non-reactivity to that person, and doing it in a really good way with a great coach, and that's all really valuable. But if you could sort of be like transported for a moment to a higher level of differentiation, and just given the taste of it, like the taste of the strawberry, you have different insights through that than all those other ones that you gain through an analytic process. So I hope that gives you some information on the question you're asking. I said I would do this, and let's do it now. I'm gonna let's just do a 5-minute breakout, and again, just to give you a chance to sit with a couple other people, and just start to talk a little bit about what this has you thinking about. And as those of you who've been on this program before, I like these suggestions that if somebody could just dive in, the time flies right by. Skipping the introduction, skip the preamble, just someone starts off saying, well, here's what I'm thinking about. Speak for a few minutes and then pause, and then someone else will take the ball. And the Zoom app will automatically bring you back here, where we can talk a little bit more. and maybe some of the things you might discuss in your breakout, we can talk a little bit about here again. Okay, see you shortly. All right, that was enjoyable to listen to some of the things people were talking about. I just want to reiterate how welcome you are to join us for this Moonlight Swim. It's a funny title for something in the Bowen theory, but I liked it. It touches on this idea of an experience and a dip into the ocean, like Mark Roberts was talking about earlier. And this quote, lovers find secret places inside this violent world where they make transactions with beauty. I've always loved Rumi. And that's what we're going to be trying to help people find. You do have to learn TM first, but I can help you figure out how to do that if you wanted to join us for this swim. And also just to mention, many of you know, next Friday, we're going to have a conversation on healing polarization. I'm very pleased with the lineup we have for this event. And I'll mention Kim Ziegelman, our faculty member. She's going to tell a beautiful story about overcoming estrangement and estrangement risk in her family. Dr. Dickinson is just a very thoughtful guy. He mentioned on public radio last week after the events in Washington at the Capitol, he said Donald Trump's a symptom. And I heard him say that. I said, I'm glad we have Matt coming. And maybe we can ask him what he is a symptom of. So I hope you'll join us for that conversation next week. I think this quote by Etty Hillesum, many of you may know her. She's a writer. She's a beautiful writer. And at the same time Hitler was invading Amsterdam, she was having an awakening. And she left behind a beautiful record before she was killed at Auschwitz of her awakening consciousness. And so these sentences that are here occurred during her interactions with Nazis in Amsterdam, before she went to the camps. The only thing we can do, I see no alternative. Each of us must turn inwards and destroy in himself all that he thinks he ought to destroy in others. And remember that every atom of hate that we add to this world makes it still more inhospitable. To me, that's very resonant with Bowen theory. Managing self, family leadership means managing me, and also very resonant with the journey we're going to go on. And those of you who've donated and helped us out, I just want to thank you and mention again that we appreciate your help and your support. It's easy to support us on our website. And also consider our training program, which we'll be doing again next year. So we just have a few minutes left. I'll stop sharing here. Any thoughts or questions? Any more questions or comments? Would love to hear. What are you thinking about?
Yeah, I had one question, Eric, about, TM. Is it something you get initiated into and then you practice on your own, or is it like coaching? Is it an ongoing relationship, or do you just kind of?
Sure. It's really easy to learn, Jim. You learn it in 4 one-hour meetings. And the way they're doing it now, the first one is in person. Usually there's like a 20, you can watch, there's a beautiful introduction to what TM is that you can go to YouTube. You look up Bob Roth introduction to TM, and you'll find it on YouTube. If you can't find it, just shoot me an email, Jim, and I'll send you the link to that. But it's easy to find. Bob Roth does a great job in 20 minutes, really laying out what it is and what it isn't. And you learn it from a teacher, a certified teacher. It's very standardized. So the thing you would learn will be the exact same thing I learned in 1983. And then they have 3 follow-up meetings, or about an hour each, to make sure you kind of catch the wave of the effortlessness. and then you're free to do it the rest of your life. And one thing that's nice is they offer a free lifetime checking of the technique. So once you make that investment, it's not free to learn, but once you make that investment of learning it, they provide support for you to learn it, to sort of reset it for the rest of your life. So I don't know that there's a coaching element. Maybe that's what we're bringing in here with our Moonlight Swim course.
I hear you.
Mark, did I say that pretty well? Would you want to add anything to that? I don't hear you yet. You might be muted. Yeah.
Yes, you learn over 4 days. Typically, it starts on a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, about 1 hour each of those 4 days. It's so simple. You learn it, you basically master it, and then you can practice on your own for the rest of your life.
And nowadays, the subsequent 3 days are happening via video like this.
Right.
Any other
And
thoughts, questions? Go ahead, Jim. No, go ahead.
I take it I could go to find a TM near me.
There's a
Right.
website, the tm.org,
Yeah.
and it has a link where you say find a TM teacher near me. You punch in your zip code, and then it gives you that information.
Right.
And again, if you run into any stubbles, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll help you
Appreciate
find
it.
to that. Well, we just have maybe one more minute. Anybody want to get in a last word? It was very pleasant to be here with you all today. Thanks for being here.
Thanks
Thank
for putting it on.
Mark,
Thank you, Erik.
thanks for stepping up and being on the marquee. You both did wonderfully. I love listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Thanks.
Welcome. Thanks,
You're welcome.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.